of 2020, friends and family. I'm Anjali Chakula, the Senior Class President. Thank you for joining us this evening, this afternoon, this morning, or maybe from some date in the future for our virtual class day. I know you're probably tired of hearing this, but these are truly unprecedented and unusual times. But we're glad we got to preserve some graduation festivities and traditions in this virtual environment. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment of silence to remember those who could not be with us today. Thank you. Many of you may be watching this from your family living room, room on campus, or maybe even the bathroom. I'm not here to judge, but I think we could all benefit from a little guidance to set the scene. So close your eyes and imagine you're at the Bema. For family members who don't know what the Bema is, it's basically this beautiful clearing in the woods with a stone stage behind the East Wheelock and Ripley Wood Smith residence halls. Imagine it's a summer day, the sweet scent of morning dew is still in the air, and the sunlight is pouring into the clearing through the long branches of these majestic pine trees. We're all sitting on plastic trash bags because the ground is still too wet and you don't want to ruin your favorite outfit. You're taking it all in. This is your last full day as a Dartmouth student. Now take a deep breath and open your eyes. I know this little exercise in no way could replace the real experience of a class day gathering together at the Bema, but I know in time we will have our chance. 20s, we've been at this college during a really interesting time. We started with a historic election and ended with a global pandemic. The college has also changed in many ways. We've seen the founding of the house system, introduction of new policies like dorm access, and the hop menus makeover. We've seen it all. Personally, I'm glad that I won't have to deal with the calfless baker though. As the college has changed, so have we. The awkward and confused teens that arrived in 2016 are now slightly less awkward and confused 20-somethings. On a serious note, I'd like to thank you all and say what an honor it has been to be your class president this past year and to become friends with many of you over the last 4. It's been incredible to watch my peers grow and discover their passions and interests. We are all bound by our experiences at this little college on a hill, and many of us are better for them. I speak for Colby and myself when I say we're so grateful for all the connections we've made, on campus and LinkedIn, and we hope that we stay within your networks for years to come. Now, I know these past few months have been very difficult. Families have gone through hardships, the global economy is halted, the cracks in the systems of our country have become increasingly apparent. With the senseless loss of another member of the Black community, our nation has awoken to the anti-Black and racist institutions, and we're all eagerly seeking change. The shape of that change will be informed by us and will certainly affect us as we move forward. Admittedly, the road ahead is very unclear. I'm sure friends and family members are all concerned about what the future holds for us. I can't promise that these speakers have the answers, but I can't think of anyone better to share some wisdom, advice, and guidance as we move on to our next journey. Our speakers today were nominated and selected by our peers for the impact they have had on our class. I cannot think of anyone better to help us to reflect and prepare for the road ahead. Class of 2020, we are incredibly fortunate to have 2 class orators this year. Please help me welcome our class orator, Sabine Altude-Pierre.
It is freshman spring, and I am sitting in the common room of insert dorm building. Friends, check. Procrastination, double check. On top of that, I've got my soothing cup of warm ginger tea. Hold the honey. It's just that honey can be too thick, and sometimes it's so sweet, it's tart. Besides, I like the taste of ginger pushing through my esophagus. Anyways, it's a vague memory But suddenly this guy, the details don't matter anyways, he comes running in. He's nervous and talking really quickly about this crazy story that happened last night. Get this. So he's in his room talking trash about his family and accidentally butt dials his father. Now his father is really conservative. So you know how the story goes. So here he is, extremely uncomfortable because, you see, his father heard him call him a racist. And I wait for the punchline, the plot twist, the cliffhanger, the editor's final note, or something that tells me that the story is not over because, so what? Has no one ever brought it up to him before? And what would be so bad about him knowing as opposed to him not knowing? I mean, ignorance can be so bliss or deadly depending on who you ask. I mean, how uncomfortable for you. I imagine sharp nails digging into mahogany dinner tables as your father blames affirmative action for missing out on the promotion at work today. I imagine stomach caving into itself as you hear your mother ask the customer service operator to please speak English, or her version of English. I imagine eyes rolled so far back they've left imprints on the surface of your mute tongue as your roommate discusses why he just doesn't get why all lives matter is so controversial, why politics here is so controversial, why being Black is so political, is so controversial. I imagine your lungs are overflowing with all the air from all the discomfort you must go through every single day. And then you exhale. And isn't that a comfort these days? If I had to think back to my time here at Dartmouth, I would immediately think back to this particular memory, to the countless times I have been conditioned to make space for the discomfort of others. At a predominantly white institution where my presence was a mere afterthought, Dartmouth is often praised for its ability to bring in passionate, remarkable individuals from across the world, and it's true. I've had the chance to stand in this space with a support network of amazing faculty, friends, therapists, co-workers, and many more. I am so grateful. I have the chance to look back and be reminded that I was not alone in my Blackness here. I mean, even this poem, it did not construct itself. Last week, I attended a Black community meeting on the recent deaths across the nation. Last year, it was on the deaths of trans women of color. The year before that, it was vigil after vigil after vigil. I did not have the pleasure or comfort of choosing between being Black or being a college student. We were challenged to mourn alongside one another and hand in assignments the next morning. So back to you and your story of you butt dialing your father. Calling out discrimination should not be reserved to accidental butt dials or pranks. If there's anything you should take away from our time here, it's that you cannot stand in solidarity with me and retreat back into the comforts of your ignorance once it's supper time. I don't want your frail words of solidarity, copy and pasted syntax to stand in place of your physical allyship. You do not get to overlook the injustices happening under your roof when being Black and therefore being political was never an option. I look back at this place and I am reminded of the community I have found here in the midst of collective traumas. I envy those who have nostalgia with a dash of reminisce dripping off of their tongues right now. I imagine how powerful it must feel to drink mouthfuls of blood and taste honey. Thank you.
We will now hear from our class orator, Siri Hu Jung.
Hello, fellow members of the class of 2020. We're here today for a celebration. Of course, I wish that we could all be together in the Bima, but being together with all of you is wonderful regardless of its form. I know that we've been spending all term on Zoom University, and it is my sincere hope that I will be one of the last people you will ever see talking to on a screen. Ultimately, we are here for a celebration of all of our accomplishments. I'd like to start off first by having us take a moment to reflect upon and show gratitude for all of the friends, family, peers, and mentors who have made this day possible for all of us. We are all a product of people throughout our lives who inspire us, spark joy in our lives, humble us, help us confront our ignorance, and push us to be better. As part of this reflection, I'm reminded of a stressful week during our sophomore summer when I regrettably took 3 lab classes. 2 amazing friends of mine spontaneously texted me in the evening right after I took a melatonin to go stargazing at the organic farm. While feeling dazed and half asleep, I saw the most beautiful meteor shower of my entire life. We went to Applebee's right after for half-price appetizers. These friends have respectively taken gap years to address health inequities in Seattle and create a kitchen space on campus that fosters meaningful discussions on the politics and justice of food systems, parts of them that inspire me to be a better person. I'm happy that I'm here today to celebrate with you all our experiences with the motivating and caring people that we have been lucky to have met at Dartmouth. From memories big and small, I remember Balch Hill hikes at 3 a.m. and making impromptu pancakes and breakfast sandwiches for friends. Having had the end of our time at Dartmouth collectively uprooted, I think that our class is in a unique position to uphold the values of an ideal Dartmouth student, values that I see in the people around me. This, I believe, would be a true celebration of our time here at Dartmouth. The past few months have made palpable the many forms of structural violence that stem from systemic inequities. Race, where you live, and socioeconomic class are salient comorbidities that determine whether or not you're healthy and have access to quality health care. Additionally, the unjust murders of people like Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, and Breonna Taylor have demonstrated the embedded racism in the United States, the inherent militaristic violence of our policing system, and the utter disregard that we have for Black lives and Black dreams. John Sloan Dickey stated in 1955 in his essay, Conscience and the Undergraduate, that to create the power of competence without creating a corresponding sense of moral direction to guide the use of that power is bad education. Over 1/5 of our class comes from the top 1% income bracket, and all of us have had access to some of the best education in the world. What will we do for the world around us to honor our privileges? Furthermore, as William Jewett Tucker put it, do not expect that you will make any lasting or very strong impression on the world through intellectual power without the use of an equal amount of conscience and heart. A time where I am reminded of the combination of learning and conscience was over a long weekend on the Anthropology FSP in New Zealand. We attended a performing arts workshop on Maori Kapahaka. We learned about the lived experiences of Indigenous activism and cultural preservation by being vulnerable with each other and learning together on the marae that we were welcomed onto. We were shaped in this pandemic together, a unique experience that defines our graduating class of 2020. We are impacted by a shared loss that kindles an opportunity for our class to be motivated to make the world a better place. What we do with our shared values and privileges formed during our time here at Dartmouth is up to us. We're already well on our way and on the right track. I know people who can build a clock out of self-designed 3D printed materials, who work on nonprofits that work towards abolishing ICE, and who can write code and win art awards at the same time. In these past few weeks, I've heard amazing presentations on the culmination of the hard work of many people close to me. These works are multidisciplinary, the modeling of winds emanating from stars, the proliferation of artificial intelligence weaponry, the synthesis of organic structures useful in pharmaceutical manufacturing, and the counting of tree rings to assess fire control in boreal forests left me speechless due to a mixture of awe and complete lack of understanding. Ultimately, the experiences and identities that we share will always matter to us, and that is something that can never be taken away from us. Not a single day has gone by since first stepping foot on campus where I am not reminded of the empathy, compassion, innovation, and creativity that you all put into your passions. If there is any group of people that is capable of using their education to enhance and brighten the world around us in an intentional, meaningful way, it is you all. Crossing paths with all of yours here in Hanover has been one of the greatest privileges of my entire life. I can't wait for the day when we can all be together again in one place to celebrate our class of 2020. In the meantime, we'll be doing great things.
We will now hear from our faculty speaker, Charles J. Whelan, Class of '88, Senior Lecturer and Policy Fellow, Rockefeller Center.
My name is Charlie Whelan. I'm a public policy professor and a member of the Dartmouth class of 1988. This is the BEMA. This is where you're supposed to be. I'm sorry that you're not here, and I want to extend my sympathy to all the families who've been affected by everything that's happening around us. I sat in this place in June of 1988. In the 30 years since we graduated, many of us have done very well as individuals. But if I were to think about our class, about our generation, I think there are two big things that we got wrong. My hope is that you'll get them right, or at least that you'll do better than we have. First, we became over-enamored with technology, and more important, we failed to see the difference between technological progress and social progress. And who could blame us? We were the first class at Dartmouth College to have Macintosh computers. We had arrived on campus using road atlases. We carried typewriters. And yet in a few short years, we had the internet. We had phones we could put in our pockets. We had books that we could download to devices from thin air. We navigated using satellites from our car. Here's the problem. Earlier this week in the Whelan family kitchen, I asked our smart speaker, Alexa, how should we end social injustice? And this is what she said. I'm quoting here. Sorry, I don't know that one, but here's a song you might like. I said, Alexa, what should we do about the opioid crisis? She directed me to a Wikipedia page. You see where I'm going here? In the 30 years since I graduated, many people have tried to argue that the liberal arts are dead. Why study 19th century literature, or colonial America, or Sparta and Athens, when the future lies in developing cool new technology? Well, that sentiment is not merely wrong, it's dangerous. What we're living through right now is screaming out to us that the liberal arts matter. Every single department on this campus. The internet may spew information, but it doesn't give us knowledge, and it certainly doesn't give us wisdom. So where does that wisdom come from? It comes from here. You think the life sciences matter at a time when we're trying to develop a vaccine to cure a virus that's caused a global pandemic? That seems fairly obvious, so let's move on. Wisdom comes from here too. This is the classics department. Exactly the kind of enterprise that's supposed to fade into oblivion now that we can order a pizza using our Apple Watch while taking a bath. But here's the thing. I taught a class this term and we read Thucydides. Why? Because he wrote about the Athenian plague, and more specifically, how the plague affected the fabric of society. Does that feel relevant? Okay, my tirade about technology notwithstanding, let's tip our hat to the engineers. It's really cool that we could re-engineer an automobile plant to make ventilators. There's a distillery in Vermont that was making boutique gin just a few months ago. Now it's making hand sanitizer. Yes, Sanborn's one of the most beautiful buildings on campus. You can get tea here in the afternoon. But the reason I'm in the English department is that this term my History of Epidemics class read Edgar Allan Poe's Masque of the Red Death. It's a short story about the rich who hold a costume gala in a castle. They're shielded by gates and walls from a plague that's affecting the commoners down in the town below. But here's the spoiler alert. Death finds its way in. The story was published in 1842, and it's never felt more contemporary. If you want to understand what's happening in Minneapolis and our other cities, read James Baldwin, read Ralph Ellison. If you want to understand human nature, hubris and folly and greed and humor, read Shakespeare. And Shakespeare even has a lot to say about contemporary politics, if you read with an eye toward that. This is the Rockefeller Center for Public Policy, my home. I hope I don't have to spend a lot of time explaining why public policy matters right now, but there are lots of other departments in the building as well. QSS is here and elsewhere on campus. Quantitative social science. They're the ones doing the kind of data analysis that can help us plan our safe recovery from COVID-19. The economics department's up there. They are going to have to help us work to escape from the worst economic slump since the Great Depression. Government is over here. On the first floor alone, there are 2 scholars doing work on conspiracy theories and fake news, 2 things that are eroding our faith in democracy. Sociology used to be in this building. They moved across the street to Blunt. Does it feel to you like an important time to be thinking and talking about the role of race in American society? It does to me. This is philosophy. Most of you have a passing familiarity with the trolley problem. You know, a trolley's hurtling out of control on the tracks and it's going to kill 6 people. Or you can pull a lever and it will go to a different track and kill 2 people. So should you pull the lever or not, knowing that you'll be responsible for the deaths of 2 people? And you think, wow, this is a great thing to study, because then undergraduates have something to argue about while they wait for their burritos to be delivered to the dorm. No, 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 no. We are living through a trolley problem. Should we keep the economy closed and protect those who are at most risk from coronavirus? Or should we open up more quickly to prevent more harm to those who are the most economically vulnerable? Life is a series of trade-offs. We should think about them more deeply. And while we're at it, we should think more deeply about truth and justice and fairness and what it means to lead a good life. It's the arts, too. Orozco was telling us things. That's what artists do. They hold up a mirror to society so that we understand ourselves better. James Knockway, Dartmouth class of 1970, is a renowned photojournalist. His collection is at the Hood. There's one of his images that has always resonated with me. It was a photo taken at the height of the Troubles, the violent conflict in Northern Ireland between Catholics and Protestants that seemed entirely intractable. In the photo, there's a truck on fire. Flames are shooting out in every direction. But there's a man dumping a single bucket of water on one of the flames. It's a futile gesture, but it's also a hopeful one. This is a guy who hasn't given up. I think about that photo all the time, especially now when our streets are burning. Maybe somebody's asked you, can you get a job if you study that? Well, here's my answer. Can we have a safe, prosperous, fair society if you don't study that? For what it's worth, Dartmouth has produced 2 recent secretaries of the Treasury. Both did heroic work during the 2008 financial crisis. One of them was an English major, the other was an Asian studies major. And that brings me to the second thing I fear the class of 1988 has gotten wrong. Not everyone, obviously, but if I think about the big picture, I worry that too many of us stopped trying to put out the flames with our buckets. Here's why. We figured, not unreasonably, that if we invented things and built companies and wrote books and made smart investments, that the flames would gradually go out on their own. It wasn't crazy. We graduated at a time of unprecedented optimism. The Berlin Wall came down a year after we graduated. Capitalism and democracy won. But I fear that left us with an oversimplified sense of what our system will and won't do on its own. Markets deliver remarkable innovation. You may not like your Zoom classes, but wow, Zoom is an amazing technology. But here's what Zoom won't do. It won't fix the inequalities in our education system. If anything, it exacerbates them. If you don't have high-speed internet in your home right now, you're not Zooming with anyone. Facebook has connected people all over the world, and it's cool. But Facebook has not confronted the challenge of fake news. If anything, it remains the vector for spreading that virus. Too many of us graduated in 1988 with a belief that if we each succeeded alone, then we would naturally all succeed together. That's not crazy either. After all, a rising tide really does lift most boats, but it also drowns those who are anchored to the bottom. It will take all of you, bringing your buckets filled with everything you have learned on every square foot of this campus to confront challenges like racial injustice and climate change and income inequality. These are complex problems that can feel overwhelming and depressing. But remember this, there's peace in Northern Ireland right now. It's fragile, but dedicated people worked tirelessly to end the violence. That guy with the bucket, he was on the right side of history. After you graduate, it'll be really sexy if you can tell people that you're working on a self-driving car. But you know what we could really use right now? A better self-governing society. We have an app for that. It's you. It's your collective wisdom, amalgamated from all strands of learning on this campus, and all the learning that you have yet to do. I hope you return to campus soon and often, and that in 10 years, or 20 years, or 30 years, when you come back, you will have succeeded individually at whatever you set out to do. But I also hope that you will have succeeded collectively in healing what ails us. Congratulations and good luck.
We turn now to the awarding of prizes, presented by Marvin Burns and Michelle Kermond, Assistant Deans of Undergraduate Students, and Catherine Lively, Dean of the College.
Good evening. My name is Marvin Burns. As one of two senior class deans, I have the pleasure presenting this year's Hannah T. Crosdale Award. Each year, this award is given in honor of the late Professor Hannah Crosdale, who, for more than 40 years, was a member of the biology department at Dartmouth College. The award recognizes the student or students who have made the most significant contributions to the quality of life for women during their time at Dartmouth. The names of the winners are engraved on a large silver bowl on permanent display in the College Center. In selecting our Crosdale winners each year, we recognize the direct and powerful link between the quality of life on campus for women and the quality of life for all students. Women's issues are community issues. This year, we have two recipients of this award. Our first recipient is a double major in biology and Asian societies, culture, and languages from Potomac, Maryland, and a James O. Friedman Presidential Scholar. A member of Schoolhouse, an Alpha Phi sorority, and captain of our nationally ranked women's rugby team. This student has made it a priority to serve others and make our campus a better place. Her work on sexual violence prevention has had tremendous impact. A respectful and compassionate educator, she served as a student facilitator for our first year sexual violence prevention program. As an intern for the Dartmouth Bystander Initiative, she helped mobilize the campus community to prevent stalking, harassment, dating, and domestic violence and sexual assault. As a member of the Sexual Violence Prevention Student Advisory Boards, she has helped shape Dartmouth's future culture for the better. As she puts it, wearing the green and representing Dartmouth reminds me that I am part of something so much greater than myself. I am not just forging my own legacy, but weaving it into the greater Dartmouth legacy. For her lasting contribution to the quality of life for all in our community, I am pleased to award the 2020 Hannah Crosdale Award to Alexandra Edensworth Conway. Here's where I would say congratulations. You come up and you get, salutatorious and congratulations, all the wonderful things, but we're just not able to do that. But we do wish you the very best, and we're very proud of you. Our second recipient is a history major with a minor in Hispanic Studies from Palmyra, New York. A member of Schoolhouse, she has just completed her senior honors thesis and is a member of the Phi Alpha Theta History Honors Sorority. Her work on reproductive rights and neoliberal ideology in Peru was published this past fall in the Vanderbilt Historical Review. This student has consistently fought for the rights, safety, and well-being of students at Dartmouth, an executive board member of Movement Against Violence and Sexual Violence Prevention Program intern, and as the executive chair of the Student and Presidential Committee on Sexual Assault. She partnered with Residential Life, Greek Life, the Office of Community Standards and Accountability, and the Title IX Office to promote resources and understanding. As a non-affiliate student, she built relationships and buy-in with the Greek community and has gone above and beyond to promote positive change. An outspoken advocate for students who have experienced sexual violence at Dartmouth, her call-in, as opposed to call-out leadership style, sets a model for us all. For her lasting contribution to the quality of life for all in our community, I am honored to award the Hannah Crosdale Award for 2020 to Ann Yates Pitney. We're very proud of you. We wish you could be here in person to celebrate this award, and we're very honored to spend this time with you this afternoon.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Kermond. As the other senior class dean, I have the pleasure of presenting the Grace and James S. Parks 1920 Prize. Established in October 1986 by Dr. James C. Parks, class of 1957, and Dartmouth Medical School, class of 1959, the Parks Prize is presented annually to a graduating student who has demonstrated record of concern for others and exemplifies the personal qualities of kindness, good fellowship, and respect, which Dr. Parks so admired in his parents. An anthropology major with minors in theater and education, and a newly designated Fulbright Scholar from Honolulu, Hawaii, this student is widely respected for her quiet influence and impact across campus. A member of the Schoolhouse Executive Board and Alpha Xi Delta sorority, this student played a critical role this year as co-moderator of the Paleopolis Senior Society of Student Leaders. The scope of her involvement across campus is extraordinary. She has been a senior academic mentor to first-year students, a Collis After Dark intern, and a member of the Collis Governing Board, the Programming Board, and the Orientation Team. She has been a member of Hokupa'a, our Native Hawaiian and Indigenous Islander group, worked on first-year and sophomore family weekends, and served as a theater department costume shop assistant all 4 years. Off campus, she has volunteered at David's House to support children in treatment at Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center and the Hanover Community Kitchen. This student doesn't seek the limelight. She thinks of herself as a quiet contributor, working behind the scenes to nudge other students to find their own ways, develop as leaders, and pursue their own dreams. Her concern for others, kindness, good fellowship, and humility make her the perfect recipient of this award. I am deeply honored and proud to present this year's Grace and James S. Parks 1920 Prize to Michaela Wing C. Anderson. I am just so happy, Michaela, and I couldn't think of a better person for this prize. I'm sending you a virtual hug, and I can't wait until we can see each other and I can give you a real hug in person. And now, I am very pleased to introduce Professor of Sociology and Dean of the College, Catherine Lively, to present our final Class Day awards.
Each year at Class Day, we take a moment to recognize the recipient of the Jerome Goldstein Award for Distinguished Teaching. Please join me in congratulating William Chang, Associate Professor of Music. And now, to our final senior prizes. In 1913, John Barrett, class of 1889, gave to the college this cup, upon whose face was to be inscribed the names of those students, one in each graduating class, who show the greatest degree of all-around achievement, taking into consideration character, scholarship, personal popularity, and practical usefulness. Each year, this prize has been awarded to the graduating student who shows the greatest promise of becoming a factor in the outside world through strength of character, qualities of leadership, record of scholarship and broad achievement, and influence among fellow students. This student displays an extraordinary degree of all-around achievement. A first-generation student, schoolhouse member, and sociology major from Brazil, this student has earned 5 academic citations in 4 different academic departments. A James O. Friedman Presidential Scholar and a King Scholar committed to poverty alleviation, he has just completed an interdisciplinary honors thesis on domestic work, legislation, and consolidation of labor safeguards in Brazil. He builds relationships and bridges across communities. He has studied abroad in Italy and Spain and worked on a service learning trip in the Dominican Republic. He founded the Dartmouth Brazilian Society. He has been a facilitator for the Telling My Story program and has been a community leader in the Triangle House Living Learning community. Those who know him describe him as amazingly talented and one of our most brilliant scholars in 20 years. His work has been selected for presentation at Harvard and at the International Sociological Association Forum this summer in Brazil. Thoughtful, balanced, and mature far beyond his years, he displays a strong sense of integrity, shows up 100%, and is prepared to make a real difference in the world. After Dartmouth, he plans to pursue a doctorate in sociology with a research focus on gender and racial inequality. He will indeed become a major factor in the outside world. For his extraordinary achievements in our community, I am very pleased to present the Barrett Award for 2020 to Gustavo de Almeida Silva. Each year since 1977, through a gift established by the class of 1936, the Philip D. McGinnis Award is presented to that student in the senior class who has contributed most significantly to the college through depth of integrity and character, capacity for leadership, academic achievement, commitment to the life of the community, and who shows the greatest promise of positive impact and accomplishments in the years to come. A double major in linguistics and anthropology, a stamped scholar and a member of West House and Alpha Xi Delta sorority from Mahwah, New Jersey, this student's James O. Friedman Presidential Scholar Research focused on human-centered design and empathy in emergency medicine. This spring, she completed 2 senior honors theses, one in anthropology on the experience of medical students with disabilities and chronic health conditions, and one in linguistics, in which she examined patient, caregiver, and provider narratives of disease and the experience of pain. Beyond her academic pursuits, she is a founding member of Access Dartmouth, a student organization dedicated to promoting accessibility and inclusivity for students with varying abilities. She has worked extensively with student accessibility services and served on a campus-wide accessibility working group charged with developing campus curricula and training materials to ensure equal access. An actress and a vocalist, she has performed with the Dartmouth Sings a cappella group and has been in a number of plays and musicals on campus. She plans to pursue a joint MD, PhD in medical anthropology and to break down barriers in healthcare. A highly effective and tireless advocate, we have no doubt that she will continue to have an equally powerful impact in the years to come. I am very, very proud to award the 2020 Philip D. McGinnis Award to Jessica Campanile. I look forward to seeing you and your guest at tomorrow's virtual celebration, and I send best wishes and congratulations to you all.
Hello, Dartmouth family. I hope you're enjoying the Class Day celebration so far. My name is Tim Holman, and it's an honor to serve as your class president for the next 5 years. As the previous speakers have noted, this is a challenging time in our nation's history, and right now, we stand at the epicenter of it. An invisible enemy, the COVID-19 pandemic, has swept across this country, killing over 110,000 of our dear fellow Americans. The brutal murder of George Floyd has exposed a dark truth. A truth that as an African American man myself, I know all too well. A truth that my mother and grandfather shared with me when I was just a little boy who loved to play Pokemon and run outside with my sister Connie. The truth, racism is alive and omnipresent in this country. And to be black can very well be a death sentence by violence or by police brutality. This moment demands immediate and meaningful action. As the saying goes, the night is darkest right before the dawn. But the dawn won't arrive unless we as a class, we as a Dartmouth community come together and take action. Let's be bold. As the sun sets on our time as undergraduate students and we begin a new day as alumni, I challenge the class of 2020. Let's advance the fight against systemic injustice and violence against African Americans. Support organizations such as the Black Lives Matter and the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, and any organization which supports your vision for changing the world. The information for these organizations is on your screen right now. So please, friends, classmates, families, take out your phone right now and help out in whatever way you can. As Captain America said, this is the fight of our lives, and we're going to win, whatever it takes. This is our moment. This is your moment. This is the time to act and the time to lead. God bless you, your family, friends, and loved ones, and God bless the amazing class of 2020. Thank you.
Dartmouth, there is no music for our singing, no words to bear the burden of our praise. Yet how can we be silent and remember the splendor and the fullness of her days? Who can forget her soft September sunsets? Who can forget those hours that pass like dreams? The long, cool shadows floating on the campus. The drifting beauty where the twilight streams. Who can forget her sharp and misty mornings, the clanging bells, the crunch of feet on snow, her sparkling noons, the crowding into commons, the long white afternoons, the twilight glow. See, by the light of many thousand sunsets, Dartmouth undying, like a vision starts. Dartmouth, the gleaming, dreaming walls of Dartmouth, miraculously builded in our hearts. Miraculously builded in